You're at a party right now, or a family dinner, or a meeting, and the room is full of people talking and laughing. Somewhere in the middle of all of it, a feeling arrives that makes no sense. You are completely alone, not physically, socially, emotionally. The people are right there. You could reach out and touch them, but something is missing, something you can't name, and the worst part isn't the feeling itself. The worst part is that you don't understand why. Most people assume loneliness is a numbers problem. Too little contact, not enough friends. Fix the quantity, fix the feeling. But that assumption is wrong, and the real explanation is far stranger, because loneliness has almost nothing to do with how many people are around you. It never did. Let's start 300,000 years ago, because that's where this feeling was born. Your ancestors didn't just live in groups, they depended on them to survive. For nearly all of human history, being separated from your group wasn't uncomfortable. It was a death sentence. You couldn't hunt large animals alone. You couldn't defend yourself from predators in the dark without other people at the fire. You couldn't survive an injury, a sickness, a failed hunt without the group to carry you through it. Every human alive today is descended from people who stayed connected, because the ones who didn't left no descendants. This is why loneliness exists at all. It's not a flaw in your psychology, it's an alarm system. In 2008, neuroscientist John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago published research that changed how scientists understand social pain. His team found that loneliness activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. The anterior cingulate cortex, which processes the distress of physical injury, responds to social exclusion with the same pattern of activity it uses when you get burned or hit. Your brain cannot meaningfully distinguish between a broken bone and being left out of a conversation. Both register as threats to survival because, for most of human history, they were. But Cacioppo's research revealed something nobody expected. Lonely people don't just feel bad, their bodies change. Within 24 hours of feeling socially isolated, the human immune system begins shifting into what researchers call a conserved transcriptional response to adversity. White blood cells ramp up inflammation pathways, the same ones that activate when your body anticipates physical attack. At the same time, they pull back from antiviral responses, the ones that protect you from infections spread by close contact with other people. Your immune system prepares for violence and withdraws its defenses against disease, not because you're in danger, because you're alone, because in the ancestral environment, being alone almost always predicted both. Chronic loneliness raises cortisol, destroys sleep quality, and over time produces health outcomes that rival smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That last figure comes from a 2010 meta-analysis by Julianne Holt-Lunstad at Brigham Young University, who reviewed data from more than 300,000 people across 148 studies. The body does not treat social isolation as a lifestyle preference. It treats it as an emergency. Now here's the part that explains what happens in that room full of people. Cacioppo made a distinction in his work that most people have never heard of. He separated loneliness from solitude, and he separated both from something he called perceived social isolation. That last one is the key. Loneliness, he argued, is not measured by how many people are present. It's measured by the gap between the social connection you have and the social connection you need. You can have that gap in a crowd. You can be free of it in an empty room. What your brain is actually monitoring constantly, mostly without your awareness, is not the number of bodies nearby. It's the quality and safety of your bonds with those bodies. It's asking one question on a loop. If something went wrong right now, would these people help me? Are they with me? Or are they simply near me? For nearly all of human history, the people around you were the same people every day. They knew your name, your history, your family, They had seen you at your worst. They were bound to you by shared survival, the kind of trust that only accumulates over years of depending on each other to stay alive. That structure is what your nervous system was built for, not proximity, permanence. In 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory declaring loneliness a public health epidemic. What made it striking wasn't the declaration, it was a single data point buried in the report. Young people, the most digitally connected generation in history, reported the highest rates of loneliness of any age group. More messages, more followers, more documented evidence of connection than any humans who had ever lived, and the loneliest. The brain's social threat detection system doesn't respond to information about connection. It responds to the felt experience of it. It cannot be updated by a notification. It can't be satisfied by a message. The same neural circuitry that evolved to monitor the quality of bonds with the 5 to 15 people you depended on for survival is now being fed hundreds of shallow contacts and asked to conclude you are safe. It doesn't work. The alarm doesn't turn off. It was never designed for this diet. But there's a deeper layer still, one that researchers have only recently begun to understand. In 2015, psychologist Jeff McDonald at the University of Toronto proposed something called social thermoregulation theory. The core idea sounds almost too simple. Physical warmth and social warmth use the same neural systems in the brain. They are not analogous. They are not metaphors for each other. They are the same thing. The experiments confirmed it. Holding a warm cup of coffee made participants rate strangers as more socially warm. Physical cold made people feel more socially isolated. When participants were socially excluded in lab conditions, they reported feeling physically colder. When lonely people were asked to take hot baths, their loneliness scores went down. Brain imaging showed that the insula, the region that processes bodily temperature, activates identically during physical cold and social rejection. This is not symbolic. Your body uses the same ancient circuit to track social and physical warmth because in the ancestral environment, they were inseparable. Warm meant near the fire. Near the fire meant with your group. With your group meant safe. Cold meant a separation. Cold meant you might not survive the night. And so your nervous system learned to read them as the same signal. This is why loneliness has a physical texture, why it feels like something has been removed from inside your chest. And it's why the metaphors we reach for when describing social rejection are all thermal. Cold shoulder, icy silence, a warm welcome, frozen out. You've been accurately describing the neuroscience for thousands of years. You just didn't have the vocabulary to know it. So here is what is actually happening when you feel alone in a room full of people. Your brain's social monitoring system, built over hundreds of thousands of years to detect the presence or absence of genuine, reliable survival-level bonds, is running its scan. It is looking for specific signatures, mutual recognition, emotional safety, the kind of warmth the insula reads as you are not alone in the dark. It is not finding them, not because the people aren't there, because the connection isn't. And the harder truth is that understanding this doesn't fix it. Knowing the neuroscience of loneliness does not turn off the alarm, because the system was never designed to respond to understanding. It was designed to respond to a connection. Real, physical, time-built, trust-accumulated connection. The kind that takes years to develop and exists almost nowhere in modern life by default. Cacioppo spent the last decade of his life, before he died in 2018, studying not just the causes of loneliness, but its reversals. What he found was simple and difficult at the same time. Connection cannot be accelerated. It cannot be downloaded. It cannot be performed for an audience of hundreds and still feel intimate to the performer. The research consistently pointed to the same prescription: small groups, physical presence, repeated contact over time, and the willingness to be genuinely known by someone who is genuinely known by you. The people who rebuilt their social nervous system, who turned down the alarm, did not do it by meeting more people. They did it by going deeper with fewer. For 300,000 years, your ancestors sat around fires in groups of 15 to 50 people and were known completely. They didn't have more people. They had the same people night after night, season after season, until the bond between them was less a choice than a fact of nature. And every time the fire burned low and the group sat together against the dark, the warmth they felt wasn't comfort. It was a signal. You're not alone. You're safe. You can rest. Your nervous system is still sending out that scan, still waiting for that signal. No crowd has ever been able to fake it.